Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Hailing Frequencies Open podcast. Today, I have the pleasure to have on the channel a master of his craft with a wonderfully titled channel, Plastic Imagination Workshop. David, thank you for taking the time and coming on today.
Hello, Dan, and thank you for having me. This is great.
You're very welcome. So we can begin, David, and can you tell us what got you into scale modeling?
Sure. So I have literally been doing scale modeling in one form or another my entire life. So 50 plus years.
Okay.
Some of my earliest memories as a little kid was building model airplane with my dad, and then building them with my grandpa, and then eventually just building them on my own. So I honestly have always been doing some sort of modeling, whether it be cars, airplanes, whatever, or even because I did take a kind of hiatus for a while there when my kids were younger and everything, and I was working on the career. But even then, I might not have been like building scale model kits, but I was doing scale model type stuff. I was doing a pinball repair, and pinball games have lots of little knickknacks and toys in them. Well, they break, so I'd repair them, paint them, do all kinds of stuff like that, touch up play fields. So I've just been doing it for over 50 years, and I just got into it because my dad was into it. He introduced me to that, and I've always been a very hands-on mechanical person. So just doing things with my hands has just always been who I am, and that's just what I've been doing. So I've got into it at a very young age, and I'm still going.
I often get people asking me advice like, where to begin, how to start, any tips for a complete beginner. And I think the two words I use most is practice and patience. What advice would you give to beginners?
That's another great question. I think, well, it's actually funny because like when I'm like hanging out in the store and looking at models, sometimes someone will just come up and they'll be looking at models too, and they'll ask me, "Do you do this?" Yeah. Well, what should I do this? What should I do that? And I always my best tip I think I give to beginners is don't overbuy a kit that you can't do. There's a skill level for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I always tell them start with a really basic, even a snap together kit. Even some of these newer ones that they don't even require paint. You just snap them together and it's there. And those are great because they teach you the basics, how to follow instructions, how to cut parts off a tree, how to put them together. And I always tell them just start off there. And if you enjoy it, your natural course of action is going to be graduating and learning more and going on to the next step. And then I tell them, as long as it's fun, keep going. If it ever doesn't become fun, do something else, or, don't let it get to the point where it's not fun, because that's the whole point of it.
Of all the models you've done, do you have a favorite? Like, do you have one that never fails to make you smile when you see it or walk past it?
So I do. I actually have, when I first got back into getting, serious about scale modeling a couple years ago, I built that 29 Ford Roadster, the one that's kind of like a World War II airplane scheme.
Okay.
I really like that one because that was the first time I built something where I wasn't trying to make it look like a real object. And by that, I mean, you have a picture on a box and you strive really hard to make it look exactly like that picture. And you never do, or at least I never did, but I always strived for it. And with this kit, I just let myself go. I was watching a movie, and they were showing the, World War II Corsairs and stuff, and the old planes landing on the aircraft carriers. And I'm like, a hot rod like that would be kind of cool. So I just kind of let myself go on that hot rod, and I really like how it came out. I mean, I did a lot of details that, most people aren't ever going to notice. On the knockoffs on the wheels, I got yellow tips and they're black, so it looks like the propellers. In the front headlights on the bottom sections of the lens, one is red, one is green for your navigational beacons. I just had a lot of fun with that kit, and it always just, it has a prominent space on my shelf, and I always look at it with fondness and just think, I really like how that one came out. the other main reason why I like that one the most is because before, when I was in the 90s, when I was heavy into doing models and doing figure models and things like that, I was also a friend of mine I worked with. He also was a model builder, and he would go in and sign up at. We had a bunch of like contests, model contests at it was Hobbytown USA back then, and they had a bunch of little, competitions around the area all the time. So I started building kits to compete, and I think that really got me to the point where it just wasn't fun, because I was striving so hard to make it, presentable as something to be judged, that it just wasn't as fun anymore. And I think that's part of the reason why I kind of got away from building models, just because that wasn't as enjoyable. So when I got back in this time, I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to build for me and for what makes me feel good and makes me happy. And that was one of the first ones I did like that. And I think that's probably why it's one of my favorites. And nothing against people who do compete. I think that's amazing. I see some amazing kits that are built out there that are in model shows and stuff, and just blows my mind away. And there is nothing wrong with that. And those people really love and enjoy what they're doing. For me, it was just a different thing. It was fun at first, but then it just became more like a job, I guess you'd call it. And I was building for other people, not for me. So that's when I had to make a change. And that was one of the first ones that I did that for. That, and probably my Freightliner that I did, like the Freightliner. I don't know if you saw that one. The really crazy looking Freightliner semi truck. Yeah, that one I really went off the rails on. But I'll tell you, that one was a really fun build. And, most people, if anyone who's built those Freightliner kits or those AMT kits, know they're challenging. That one was the easiest time I've ever had building one of those kits, because I really didn't care what it was going to look like, because I just was going off the rails with it. And that's another favorite of mine that just I feel good about.
Actually, I watched a video of yours a few weeks ago, and one of my favorites now that I've seen of yours is the Bell H-13H, the MASH helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That just turned out incredible.
Thank you. I'm really happy with that one came out too. I've always loved MASH, and I watch it. And that opening scene where they show the helicopters, ever since I was a kid, that just did something for me. And I've been wanting to build one of those for a long time. And when I finally got it, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to build this one. And it really, I think it came out great too. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. In fact, I'm actually going to pick it up myself, I think, and do it myself.
It is a little tricky kit. Do your research and get lots of photos off the internet, because there's like, put this part here. Where's there? I don't see where that goes.
Although I'm mainly into Star Trek modeling myself, I think my favorite one has to be Revell released it a few years ago, actually, but I only picked it up last year. It was the Boeing 747, but it was the Iron Maiden Boeing 747, because the band actually got a 747 to tour the world. So that's actually my favorite. That's has pride of place here above on the shelf above me.
Yeah, I watched your video on that, and that was amazing too. You did a really good job on that. I really liked that. I'm not an Iron Maiden fan, but I really enjoyed watching that build. That came out great.
Because it's the model is discontinued or no longer in production, I actually had to get it on eBay.
Yeah, it's funny how I go to eBay looking for a lot of kits, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy that one now.
Yeah.
Some of the prices for model kits these days is like, wow.
Yeah, they've got, especially the ones that are not in production. Generally, I think it's every 5 years, like AMT re-release some Star Trek models.
Yeah.
But when they re-release them, the price is decent and quite affordable. But when they're not in production is when you see the price tripling.
Yeah, I know that firsthand. When I was trying to find the Colonial Viper Revell kit to build, every time I would try to get one on eBay, I'd get outbid, just because I couldn't validate spending, I couldn't validate spending over $80 on a kit.
Yeah.
I for that kit, I mean, I wanted it, and I probably eventually would have put out the money, but I just wasn't ready to do that. So I lost a lot of it. And then my brother-in-law actually found one and got it for me, which was really cool.
Do you have a favorite company, by the way, like Tamiya, Revell, AMT, Bandai?
So I was kind of I was actually kind of thinking, how do I answer this question? Because I don't think I really have a favorite company, but when I first started, building models, there wasn't that many to choose from where I lived. I mean, I didn't even have a hobby store. I would go get models from a Kmart, which is in the US, a Kmart's kind of like a box store. They kind of got a little bit of everything, but they sold models. And back then in the 70s and 80s, you could buy models anywhere. But the majority of the brands were Revell, Monogram, AMT, Aurora, if you could find them. Those were a little harder to find at some points back then. But actually, now that I've expanded, I would say now probably one of my favorite company kits to build is probably Tamiya. And basically because I really am impressed with the level of detail they use, not only in the kit, but in the instructions. And just, you can tell they've gone that extra bit to make it just a really well-rounded kit. And nothing against Revell and Monogram in them, but to be honest, sometimes they're a little lacking in those areas. And I just the Tamiya kits I've built, and even some Hasegawa kits, they seem to be just a little next level. And so I would say that probably one of my favorite companies are going to be Tamiya and Hasegawa.
Last year, I went into like a local toy store just to pick up a couple of cheap little models, bargain bin models, just do a bit of practicing. Lo and behold, what was in the bin? Only the SAS Jeep, the World War II SAS Jeep from Tamiya. And I was like, wow, what a find. I wasn't expecting this at all,
Yeah, that's an awesome find.
And now it's a small little thing. It's probably only about 4 inches. Detail is super.
Yeah, I agree. Their level of detail is just next level. It really is.
Yeah. As I said, because I'm mainly Star Trek modeling, I'm kind of married to AMT. I don't have much choice.
But, you kind of have to be at that point, right?
Yeah.
To me, it is lacking in those areas.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff I do, like as I said, the Iron Maiden, Boeing 747, Titanic, the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian, they're all Revell. And I must say, I found them excellent. The quality.
Good. I have built a lot of Revell kits, but not a lot of new Revell kits.
Okay.
Like the reissued ones and things like that have been stamped over, decades.
Do you have a particular type of build you prefer, like military, cars, commercial planes?
So I really don't. I was actually talking with my wife about this last night, because I was like, I really don't know that I have a favorite. Because when I build something, it always comes from like an inspiration. Like I have a small stash of kits. My stash compared to some of these guys is minuscule, But if I'm watching a movie or see something out in real life that just clicks in my head or something, I go, I'm going to build something like that, and I'll go buy a new kit if I don't have one that I can do it with. And so I think it just goes by what I'm feeling at the time. So, and I'll build anything from sci-fi to automotive to military. I mean, you can look at my channel, at the catalog on my channel. It's all over the place. So I really don't have a favorite. I think I'm just open to what is fun for me at the time and what I'm feeling. And that's the genre I'm in.
Yeah, and that's good, because it's a great selection you have. There's something for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have a least favorite part of modeling? Is there something you go, oh no, not this part again?
I think the least favorite part of modeling for me is when the manufacturer kind of lets you down, whether it be really poorly done instructions or really poorly molded parts. That's just kind of frustrating, because you get a kit, you work it out in your head how you want to do it, and you're going towards that goal, and then you get halfway through a build and you realize that, oh, well, that's not going to fit there because this is in the way. And then you go through and you're like, what the heck? So that's kind of one of the things that kind of is a negative for me in model building, is just the manufacturers should be more cautious of that. They should be really on their game when they're doing that, and it's not really as big of a problem for say someone like me who, I'm not a newbie. Model building is all about problem solving from the get-go. So I can usually work around that stuff. In fact, I usually don't follow the instructions step by step anyways, even though I would give that advice to a new person, follow the step by step. I don't do that. But for a new person getting into modeling, if they were to buy a kit and the instructions are really bad or the parts don't really work well, I mean, that's going to turn them off. And I really want to encourage people to get into it if they aren't already, and grow the hobby. So I guess that's probably my least favorite part of the model building. And updating the instruction sheets, maybe put part numbers on the trees. That would help people out a lot, because a lot of these old AMT kits, there's no numbers to the parts. You just go by look and, oh, that looks like it. Okay, it kind of fits. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But that's where experience comes in. But for a new builder, yeah, having those little things that people just don't think about anymore, those will help new people who are new to the hobby as well.
My least favorite part is decals.
Decals.
Again, being a Star Trek, building mainly starships, the decals can be a nightmare.
Yes, they can.
Especially if you want to get into the Aztecing.
Oh my word.
That can be really, really time consuming. I did a 1537 scale Enterprise A there early last year. Now I must say I love the way it turned out. It's probably of my Star Trek builds, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
It just turned out beautifully, I think. What I find with decals is sometimes they can be the wrong color.
Yeah.
As far as when I see them, that's not what I see on screen. The famous question is, what color is the Enterprise?
Exactly.
And my answer to my answer to that is, what color do you see when you watch the series?
Exactly.
Or the film? What color is it that you think it is, and that's the color you do it in. What are you working on now?
Oh, several things. And I kind of don't want to give too much away because I want my viewers to be surprised, but I'm working on a couple kits. One is a car model that a friend of mine got me for Christmas. So I'm actually building it, and he doesn't know yet, but I'm actually going to gift it back to him. And the other one is from 2001: A Space Odyssey, another kit that I've wanted to do for a long time and was never able to. So that's coming. And I've also been working on a line of t-shirts for model builders. So I loved wearing t-shirts. And if you go look for t-shirts with a model building theme, there's not a whole lot to choose from unless you're into trains, which nothing against that. I love HO scale trains too. But so I just thought I'll just design some t-shirts in my own way. So I'm hoping that they'll catch on. I've got a few kind of funny and kind of cool designs, so we'll see where that goes. But that's what I'm working on right now.
I love the I'm all out of bubblegum.
Thank you.
The They Live t-shirt is brilliant.
I've redone that one so many times now. I can't even remember what the final one ended up looking like. I really worked hard on that one. I wanted to use that line, and just putting a visual on it was a challenge. Yeah. But I think I like how the last one came out. I also just did one, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Don't Feed the Carpet Monster.
Oh, don't feed. I did. That's very good.
So model builders are going to get that. Nobody else will, but anybody who's dropped a part on the floor is going to get that.
Yeah, very true. One that's on the way is the 1966 Batmobile.
Nice. My favorite Batmobile.
But it's a snap together kit. It's, as we were saying earlier, it's one of those snap togethers. So whether it will need a little bit of extra loving attention kind of thing, or will it literally just be a snap together, we'll see. I will probably end up respraying the whole thing.
Right. I built one of those. It was one of those things where I saw it in the store and I thought, I don't even have any of my tools anymore, my paints or anything, but what the heck? And I kind of haphazardly put it together, but I got the one that came with the metal body already painted.
Okay.
I think it looks really good. So if it's any quality of that, I think you'll be happy with it.
Oh, good.
I haven't built one since. But it came out really nice, and I didn't have to do any painting or anything or decals because they were already done, which was nice.
Yeah, that's
cool. Even though it was a snap together and it was already painted, I struggled with that just because I hadn't done anything like that in so long. Your muscle memory goes away and all that, and I was just sitting at the kitchen table kind of doing it, and I was getting frustrated, and I probably put it away 5 or 6 times. because a lot of little parts, but it came out looking really good. So hopefully you'll be happy with it.
Other than YouTube, of course, where else are you? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter. I'm not a fan of Facebook. The only reason I'm on there anymore is for this, because there is a large group of people who are on Facebook that do scale modeling and watch YouTube. I am on Twitter. Don't get a whole lot there, but I'm there. And Instagram's pretty good. So yeah, you can find me on all three of those.
Great. I'll put links in the description. But I think we leave it there for now, David. An absolute pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You're welcome. This was really fun. This is my first time doing this, so it was a really nice experience. Thank you.
Great. No, my pleasure. And maybe you could come back sometime and we'll have another chat.
Thing.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All the best, David. Thanks a million.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Until the next time, Hailing Frequencies closed. If you liked what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell too. Thank you.